If your POS decides how you sell, promote, or run your stores, you are building their roadmap, not yours. And Nectar flips that. It's a unified commerce POS platform where you build your own journeys, extend your own features, and keep your stores running, even offline, for real. This isn't just unified commerce. It's full control of your store, operations, and your customer experience. In Nectar, one platform, your blueprint. One proof? The link's in the show notes and you can go see for yourself and meet them at NRF. Today, I'm taking you with me to Washington, D.C., where I sat down with Jill Dvorak. She's the SVP of Content at the National Retail Federation. Most people know NRF because of the big show in New York that has happened every year for over a century. What many people do not realize is that NRF is actually a powerful trade organization that lobbies on behalf of retailers and shapes the policies, regulations, and conversations that impact our industry every single day. With Jill, we talk about why 2025 feels so turbulent, what tariffs and policy uncertainty really mean for retailers, and how consumers are still spending and heading into a $1 trillion holiday season. We look at retail through a global lens from APAC to Europe and what the rest of the world is asking about the United States right now. Here's Paula Macadi, and this is episode 95 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Jill, welcome to the show. So happy to be in DC with you.
Thank you so much. It's a nice living room.
It is, right? I also like it.
Yeah.
I think I should move to DC. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, look, you get so much space.
Exactly.
It's
beautiful.
beautiful.
We can record this every week.
Free coffees, free wine. It sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah,
sounds like a good deal.
So I'm very excited to have you here. I think we are all preparing to something big that is coming in January.
Yeah.
But before we get there, I think there is still some people in my audience that might not be so familiar with National Retail Federation, sure. That maybe this is not just an event, but something much more. Why don't you explain to us what NRF is?
Sure. No, it's a great place to start. So NRF, we're a nonprofit trade organization, and we exist to lobby on behalf of retailers. So a lot of people don't know that actually because they've heard or seen or experienced the NRF Big Show, but we're actually not an event company. We're a nonprofit that lobbies on behalf of retailers. So we have a membership base, and most retailers are members, not all. But then we also have, the entire industry that we really are lobbying for as well. So it would include things like, CORCA, which is an organized retail crime bill. Combating that, obviously, we have, different AI policies and governance that we talk about. Obviously, the big thing this year has been tariffs and bringing a lot of both small, medium, and large businesses over to Capitol Hill just to explain really the impact that tariffs are having and giving the legislative and, all of the government the side just to hear the stories. They're not all retailers by trade. They don't understand. So it's really an education.
Yeah.
And education is the exact thing we do at NRF for the show. So it's really about educating everybody and,
And it's such a powerful industry, right? Retail, I think, is 20% of the world's
It is. I'm pulling it up so that
I
I can, this is exactly why I wanted to grab my phone. It is unbelievable. The retail industry alone, it's 1 in 4 jobs, that much I know, but it is now $5.3 trillion to the United States alone GDP. So really, retail after the federal government is the largest employer in the U.S. So our definition of retail might not be everyone's definition, but we include restaurants, we include grocery, we include QSRs or quick serve restaurants. We don't include auto or gas, but every other store. So, the apparel stores, the beauty stores, the furniture stores, home goods stores, home improvement stores, all of that is kind of under our umbrella of retail. 5.3 trillion.
Yeah, and what a privilege that we are in this industry making things happen, right?
Yep.
And you are the SVP of Content.
Yes.
And that's another thing that I think not many people know exactly what it means.
Yeah, it's a weird job title. It's a very weird job title. And it's funny, especially coming out of retail. I was a retailer for about 20 years, which honestly was the best training. And I had no idea where my career path is going. We could talk about that in a little bit, but it really gives you the best insight. You can't teach, you can't understand, you can't analyze, you can't do any of those things for an industry unless you've been in the industry. I truly, truly believe that. And so I did that for about 20 years. And coming over to NRF, my first role was just managing what I knew, which was marketing, the Marketing Executives Council, and the Digital Council, that's e-commerce. So all the people, all the executives over at all the brands and retailers, what they're doing, my job is to provide content for them. Okay. And it was actually, we called it education for a while at NRF. And then I was like, no, people think I'm in higher ed, and no, like I need something closer to my retail heart. So, fast forward 5-6 years, and now we are a global trade organization. So we have shows, I've seen you at all of them, both in yeah, we need like a passport for NRF, right? We need an NRF show passport. At NRF APAC, which is in Singapore in June. We have a September show, which is in Europe and Paris, and then obviously New York in January here in the US. So all three of those, we needed to make sure that we are not necessarily telling the same story, but telling consistent stories and telling stories that reflect where retail is in all of those regions. So we work with teams on the ground in all of the regions, but content means all of our live events, webinars, shows, small and large, council meetings, all of that. So what's happening in retail? What should we talk about? Most people know what to talk about, but what's really hard, and it's every day we're learning and trying to make it better, what level should you talk about things, right? Because you have a big group of your audience. Well, some people are working at Walmart, and some people are working at $10 or $20 million companies. So there's a really wide swath of people who come to the show, and then they have all very different interests. Some are marketing, some are personalization, some wear 22 hats, So how do you talk about it and at what level? So that is constantly what my team is trying to do best. And then, get data, figure out how we're doing, and then do it all again. So it's now we have these 3 touch points throughout the year to really get data from. Before we only had 1. So it's a really nice way to kind of have all of the content come together.
So basically your work is scaled a lot too.
Hugely scaled. Hugely scaled. I don't necessarily want to say my age. I'm proud of it. But, at a certain point in your career, you stop learning. And that was terrible. I didn't want to stop learning. So adding new regions is the best learning, right? Now just have to figure out a way to write off all of these trips that I'm doing with my family for research. I haven't figured that out yet, but it's really, to have people on the ground explain it to you is really helpful, but to come in with fresh eyes
and see it,
also something really helpful. So it's the same. We look at our international partners and we're like, what's tracking from the US brands? What are you guys hearing about over there that's happening here? So, in the US, we have a lot of media, but we don't always get great international news. So that's something I'm absolutely loving. And look, at our Singapore show last year, we had almost 100 countries. At our Europe show, we had more than 50. There's only 200 countries in the world, depending on how you count them. And we had more than half of that in Singapore.
Yeah, and that shows how much people want to be informed and see different perspectives and be connected. It's nice that you have this platform to allow them to do that.
And how big retail is, right? It's everywhere, and it means something different to everyone. Our head of comms, Bill Thorne, says it really well, but I'll try to paraphrase him, but retail is very emotional. Everyone has some story of shopping with a loved one, a family member that maybe isn't with us anymore, that first experience, or maybe working in retail as your first job. And if we hearken kind of back to that and pull those strings, that's what retail means to people. So we forget it because it's a business, but going back and thinking through, how did it feel when you shopped with your mom for that special dress? Or how did it feel when your dad took you for your first tux? Those are the things that I think connect everybody and make retail.
That's good, because we here on OFFBounds and NRF, we're always talking about the business, but we're also all consumers.
Very
now
much.
that I'm in the phase of shopping for the holidays, what I'm going to buy to my mom, what I'm going to buy to my dad, it is an emotional thing that I'm going through, he's gonna love that, it is something that we deal with in the daily basis.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about numbers then. 2025 was a very interesting year. So far, we had 3 quarters behind us.
Yes.
And we are working towards the end of the year, which is our Super Bowl. How would you define 2025 so far?
If I had to choose one word, I think it would be turbulent. We're here in DC. We're the capital of, for all the global listeners out there, this is the headquarters of the USA. And it's turbulent. At first, it was bracing for impact. Then everyone braced for impact. Impact was felt. But then, honestly, the pendulum kept swinging. And people were so worried in, businesses from a top line, an inventory, a tariff, all of those kind of huge levers, really worried. So, we saw some retailers in terms of like major spend, some pulled back. They didn't stop, but they kind of hedged their bets.
I mean, if you don't know what is going to happen,
right? And that's kind of where do you invest when you don't know what's coming? And I mean, really, at that point, it's margin, right? All you want is margin. A lot of the conversation the first couple months were what tariffs? Then the next few months were what are you doing with your prices? So some of the inputs changed, not all the inputs changed, and then every day was. Maybe not every day. Once a week was a different announcement for what the rate was going to be, from what country, for what material, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it's still fluctuating. So people are still unsure, and retailers do not want to pass on the price of tariffs to their customers, but the large majority will need to at some point. You can't survive when all of your inputs go up. You're not in business to not make money. So at some point, the consumers are starting to feel it. Food was really the first squeeze, but now it's kind of talking about what's affordable, what's the affordability, and how can brands message that? But the consumer stocks are still doing pretty well. The consumers are still spending, depending on the different forecasts you look at. Ours was 3.7 to 4.2. It was released about 2 weeks ago. But for holiday spend, 1 trillion. 1 trillion. That is the highest it's ever been. Even inflation adjusted, it's still growth of 1%. At the end of the day, people really want the holidays to happen. They don't want to not have gifts under the tree. There are consumers who that will be very hard for, but there are a lot of consumers in the 1 or 5%. They're still making up about 50% of the spend. So it's getting more and more uneven. It's not great, unfortunately, but I think a lot of the retailers will actually be okay this holiday season. But again, the uncertainty is really, really hard to plan for. And
it's funny because we thought that the worst has passed after the pandemic and everything, and we're still here we are talking about.
Honestly, the more retailers I talk to, they're like, well, we dusted off our COVID playbook this year because it's just uncertainty. At least, I don't know if it's always good to find a silver lining, but stores were open, right? We had to close the physical stores during COVID, so at least stores could stay open. The question was, were they going to have inventory? The question was, how much was that inventory going to cost when it was fully loaded?
If you increase prices, would consumers have the discretionary income to buy those products?
Exactly. The good news is, the supply chains are working as they should. There really are no shortages or slowness. Inventories in. The issue is, what did that inventory cost? And then what happens with the Supreme Court case that is right now going on to figure out, did the president use IEEPA illegally, or was that a legal use of IEEPA to really put tariffs on these goods? Are people going to get that money back? It's never been done before. I wish I had a crystal ball.
Yeah, a lot of things haven't been done before, so we're all figuring it out as it goes. But it's interesting because
that's the year of the word. That's the word of the year here. Yeah, unprecedented. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it's funny because it's so interesting that you were here, because NRF is there, seeing this front hand, trying to better adapt to our industry, to better fight for our industry.
Exactly. It is. Yeah, unprecedented. I know everyone probably cringes at that word because we heard it so much during COVID, but some of the prices we would hear from some of our members of, well, when we put it on the boat, it was this much. And when we took it off the boat, it was this much. What happened on the ocean that made it more valuable? Nothing, unfortunately. It's just the laws changed and the rates changed. So, working, the best advice, honestly, our head of supply chain, John Gold, has given most of our members is work with your, Customs and Border Patrol agents. They're the ones who really are literally on the ground and know how to kind of work through the system to make sure that you're getting the best rates and to make sure that you're getting your goods off in the right time. A few years ago, during COVID, we had a huge shortage of inventory. So, the retail world is never boring.
Well, yeah, and we know that the industry is very resilient.
Incredibly.
We all need retailers to eat, to dress, to survive, right? So it is an industry that asks for flexibility and adaptation, and gosh, we do it.
And we do it. And it's unbelievable what they do and how quickly they can react. I mean, I know we'll talk about tech at the big show, but that is truly what's enabled retailers to continue to kind of pivot back, pivot again, look the other way. It's honestly having newer systems that are less entrenched and heavy, and there's still tech debt out there, but so many of these systems are up to date and provide more of the real-time reporting that honestly we just didn't have, a few years ago.
And this year, I think it was the most international year of NRF. NRF has been around for 100 and something years.
115 years?
Yeah, over a century. Let's go
with more than 100. I should absolutely know that. I'm going to look at my boilerplate. Hold, please.
Yeah, sure.
I should absolutely know that. But it is, more than 100 years. And we have had the big show every one of those years, with the exception of COVID. For 1 year, we didn't have it. It is, over 100 years.
Over 100 years. And now this year, you were in 3 different continents. A lot of work for a team, as we discussed. But how you were seeing the 2025 in these other continents, in these other regions?
In the other regions?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I think growing up, I've grown up an American and I've had the privilege of traveling. I've always gone to other countries and asked, how do you do this? I'm always so curious in learning how they do things. For the first time ever, I think the first question I get back is, what the heck is going on in the United States right now?
How do you guys do it?
How are you doing this? Are you okay? What's happening? And they just look at you with complete and utter disbelief because honestly, I truly believe the international media is incredible. They are all of the partners we have. I mean, some of my partners in Singapore and Malaysia, they know senators' names, they know their regions, they know how many more years they have in their term. Hard pressed to find many Americans who even know that. So they're really, really well educated. So unfortunately for them, they understand the pain that we've kind of experienced and hopefully we'll have less of. But the international markets, Asia-Pac specifically, it is such a diverse market. I mean, hundreds of languages spoken in one market,
I always come back from there wow, you have no idea what I just found out.
It's hundreds of languages, but so many islands, and they're all different countries. So think about, we're just trying to ship product to, Canada or to Mexico, and that, it seems complex, and it is. But every place they ship to is another country with other, laws and rulings and, and sustainability and all of the things. And it really is complex from that perspective. There are some big dominant players, obviously, in the APAC market, Korea, Japan, and China, India as well. But for the most part, retail becomes very localized and very regionalized. But honestly, the scale there is incredible. They've been doing hour deliveries far longer than we have here in the US. I mean, they have the density and they have the technology. It's amazing, and I feel blessed that kind of the NRF as a whole, we're not so ethnocentric that we're assuming we can't learn. We have a ton to learn, both as a company and as the industry, from the other markets. So I think I use the phrase a ton, all boats rise. The more we share and learn what everyone's doing in every market, the better we all are off. So same thing goes for Europe. They are far ahead in some worlds, especially ESGs and laws around that, far ahead of the US. But in a lot of ways, from a tech perspective, they look at the US. So it's really nice. It's kind of this give and take between the different groups, and it's just fun to learn about what new retailers are doing.
Yeah, and that's why I resonate so much, because OFFBounds, that's what I'm trying to bring, right? Different markets are doing different things. What can you learn from them? Maybe you won't adapt 100%, from that, but maybe you can learn one tweak that will change your business here. So,
exactly. And it's, I just find what works across the board almost always works across the board. If you're, and these sound like total platitudes, but you're representing your customer in both where and how they want to shop. You have the product in stock. You can get it to them however they want, whether they want to pick it up or have it delivered, or through a partner. There are some fundamentals that absolutely ring true, but there are so many crazy things like, a Labubu pops up and you're like, oh my gosh, this clearly won't last. Well, it kept lasting, or
we're like, it's just a hype. 3 months and they're out. And,
right. And then they're still trading at an unbelievable, premium. And it's, there are these things that will constantly surprise you. And again, for better or for worse, the world is global now. You open your phone and chances are the feed is global.
Yeah, and it's easily, the consumers can easily buy you from anywhere.
Everywhere now. So whether or not you think your brand is international, it is international because the viewers are international, our friends are international, our circles, our work. Like, it was slow at first, but it's been a quick spread, and it's a great equalizer, ultimately, this technology and the democratization of being able to put up a website and being able to be on, Instagram or TikToks or YouTube Shorts. You don't need big money anymore to kind of get to that level. Of course, with the big money comes incredible personalization tools and all of that. So,
talking about tools,
yes.
One thing that I love about going to NRF's big show is always to learn about technology and innovation. Yeah. What do you think were the key technologies in 2025?
Looking at last year, the most popular area of the show is always kind of what's new, like, it's Innovation Hub, the Innovation Stage. Those are always the most popular. We saw a good amount of AI peeking in last year in terms of, people were talking about it, people were saying it's AI, things like that. It wasn't the majority of technology, right? There was still a whole lot of wide berth of different types of tech. This year, good news is we're sold out. Bad news is we don't have more room. However, we have an entire AI stage now up by what was the Innovator Showcase, up in that river pavilion in that back area along the river, an entire AI stage, which honestly, we could have done it for probably a week and it would still be sold out in
like
full.
Like a stage of content or a stage
of content and a whole mini expo hall just of kind of AI technology. Then we also have AI roundtables, so people can watch the content and then immediately go to the roundtable and discuss it with peers. We'll have, kind of expert-led roundtables. However, the point of the moderator is not to talk, is to listen and guide and suggest ideas for how to tackle things, talk through examples, I read this white paper, did you read this? So it's really kind of curating a conversation that it's hard in a giant, expo hall. You can listen, but you can't get that interaction that you can get at the roundtable.
Yeah.
So we're trying really hard this year. Our theme is called The Next Now. Part of it, it's kind of a play on words, next generation. Can't ignore them. They are as powerful as any generation has been coming up. And, they just have a louder voice. They have tools to project their voice, technology tools to do that.
And they only know how to do it like that.
And that's all they know how to do is to voice the opinions. And it's great because retailers are paying attention. But at the same point, as conference organizers at the NRF, we also have to pay attention. They don't necessarily want to receive content in a one-to-many way only. So what we've done is created lots of different kind of roundtable experiences. We have opportunities where people can meet and ask the speaker questions after their sessions in a smaller, kind of more of a closed-door environment. We have all sorts of retailer-only lounges where people can sit and talk freely. So we've heard a lot of the feedback is, it's overwhelming, it's so big. Well, it is, absolutely. And it's a good and a bad problem to have. You cannot look a gift horse in the mouth, but it is. It can be overwhelming if you don't have a plan. So,
So that comes with an advice too. Have a plan.
Have a plan. Yeah. Comfortable shoes is honestly number one.
Yeah.
Have comfortable shoes.
Nobody's going to judge you for wearing sneakers. Everybody will be.
Oh, please wear sneakers. We know you're a veteran if you're wearing sneakers. If you're wearing high heels, we're like, oh, this is their first time.
They're going to regret in 30 minutes.
I hope you have shoes in your bag. Yeah. Honestly, some very smart sponsors should just have like slippers to give away in their booth because they would get a ton of traffic. But, looking at the technologies this year, it's obviously AI first for everybody, but doing AI in a way that is applicable. There are takeaways. It's not vaporware, and it's actually in market and not just talked about. So those are all things that are very, very important to us because we don't want it to be a 5-year plan. It's lovely to think about, but retailers need what are they budgeting for now and next year?
Yeah, and it's so especially because it happens in January.
Exactly.
Yeah, when there's still time to plan ahead. In terms of content, what can we expect from the stages?
I don't know if I could say it's our best, but I think it's our best. We have some incredible speakers. The way I look at it is how are we representing the industry? From verticals, there's so many types of retail. And then are we able to get speakers that don't speak a lot? Meaning they're not necessarily on a circuit. They are doing the work.
There's friends from Abercrombie that I'm dying to watch.
Fran Horowitz. That was such an incredible honor So first of all, she is one of the most revered leaders in retail, right? Abercrombie and Fitch CEO, Fran Horowitz. But she has won an incredible award from the NRF Foundation. So with that, she then gets to come and do a keynote with our president and CEO, Matt Shea. So when that went through, it was just honestly like fireworks were going off in the office, right? I know, amazing. And if people look at ANF and think, oh, there's a turnaround. Well, she's been doing this for, more than 10 years. So, if people aren't paying attention, they think it's this, magic bullet that comes in. And there's no magic to it. I mean, she certainly is magical, but it was a lot of foundational work and a lot of shifting the business, slowly, but very intentionally. And so we'll get into that on stage. That's Monday morning. We have Michael Rubin, who is the founder and CEO of Fanatics. People might not always know the name Fanatics, but what they have built over, again, probably a little more than a decade now, they have every sports license known to man for every sport across the world. They have unbelievable collectible tradings. They have their own payment system. It is unbelievable. I mean, they really are their own ecosystem. So that's been incredible to watch. And Michael doesn't do a lot of public speaking, so we're really, really honored that he's coming to join us. We have Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Alphabet, Google. John Furner, the recently promoted, will be at the end of January, the global CEO of Walmart. Right now, he is the Walmart president and CEO of the U.S. He is a phenomenal NRF champion and just one of our tried and true friends. A couple of the other days, we have some real powerhouses. We have 3 different brands from VF Corp coming: Timberland, North Face, and Vans. I knew it was going to come to me. And Mindy Grossman, one of our past board chairs, is actually coming to interview them. And she's on their board, so she knows all the details. So that'll be a great conversation.
I feel like I always tell this to everyone, like, you shouldn't come by yourself. Come with your team.
No.
Because you have to stretch your team so you get the best content. You see all the innovations. Yeah. Like if I am trying as OFFBounds, I'm coming with a much bigger team this year so we can cover everything.
You have to, yeah.
Because someone has to focus on the content and you have to switch a little bit because there's so much to see on the floor, so much to see on stages. And that actually sets the year. Yeah.
Yep, it does. It sets the year. And honestly, that was a big impetus behind our CEO wanting to go global. It's like, there's so much happening at the big show. There's obviously more that could happen. We could extend it a few days probably. But, at some point it becomes a law of diminishing return. You can't walk a show for 5 days and have that same energy. So going global gives both, brands and retailers, as well as the technology and solution providers, an opportunity to meet and shop each other more than once a year. So honestly, the keynotes run unopposed. The keynotes, you can see those with an all-access pass and nothing is running against it. The expo floor is open, but you could see that. But then on our other stages, we've actually added 3 stages this year. I don't know what we were thinking. It's a lot. But at any given time, there are 8 stages happening. So that is too much for one person, clearly. I don't even think you need to bring 8 people. That also is tough. But picking some of your favorites ahead of time are the way to do it. Favorite them, add them to your calendar. So just treat them as appointments and leave extra time. If you're coming from the expo floor to the North Hall, it is a good 10-minute walk. And that is
It takes 30 minutes.
Take 30 minutes.
Even
And that
30
is
minutes.
without traffic if you know where you're going. So absolutely leave extra time and meet people in those places so you can, again, divide and conquer. I think it's really impactful. NRF members come in usually with some of their council friends and they divide and conquer, share the notes afterwards and kind of disseminate them. But ultimately, I'm so proud of the content this year. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one other thing that's brand new this year. It's called NRF Rev. It's reverse logistics. So it's a side of retail that people honestly don't talk about a lot. They don't talk about it enough.
And it's so special and so meaningful, right?
It is so meaningful, especially at a time where the front end of your business, the prices, all of the volatility with, supply chains and things like that, that is a little more uncertain than it's really ever been. So if you can look at the back part of your business and you can look at one less touch essentially to the goods when they come in for return or for recycling or for refurbishing, whatever that may be at your business, that is margin that's dropping to the bottom line, right? It's not a top line revenue. It is actual cost that you are eliminating. So it's a really good opportunity for people to kind of look at their business differently and think through, all right, I might not be able to eke out margin on the top line this year. How can I eke it out on the back end? So it is Sunday and Monday. It is at the Sheraton Times Square. So it's offsite of Javits because we frankly have no more room. But NRF purchased the RLA, which is Reverse Logistics Association.
Well, I feel like by what you're saying, I might have just to bring even more people to
send
help
them
me
there.
cover. Yeah, exactly.
Send them there.
Now
It's
I'm
not
rethinking my logistics for the show.
It is a lot. And, it's not on Tuesday, so prioritize that. But it's a really important part of business. And there are certain businesses who excel at it, and there are a lot who ignore it. So we have a keynote stage there. We have 12 sessions. We also have roundtables, very much like the AI roundtables, with leaders sitting at the table. Someone might come in being like, how do you know when to resell it? How do you know when to recycle it? Or how do you know if you can just throw it away? There's a new law, and I only know this because I work at NRF, but a lot of retailers are unfortunately getting kind of surprised by this. There's a new law in California called SB 707. It requires all textiles to be recycled in essentially an approved manner. Textiles. That's apparel, that's home goods, that's clothing, it's rugs, it's furniture, it's all sorts of retailers sell textiles. And that's a law in California. We know California goes first, and there's a lot of fast followers. So it's a major issue that is not necessarily hitting mainstream media because it's just right now
something that everybody should be concerned because that's going to change how you operate the business.
Right. And of course, there's obviously all the other reasons for recycling and reselling. There's money, there's ESG, there's all the other, but now it's also law. So it's something that we will actually be really, really diving into. And NRF is helping set up a producer responsibility organization with a bunch of our members so other retailers can join that and really collectively create this recycling organization because it doesn't exist.
And before we end this interview, I think I feel like we could just
this
keep
could be
going.
2 hours. Yeah. Not that anyone wants to listen to me for 2 hours.
I am someone who works with content. I've never imagined that my life will bring me to the moment where I'll be known for producing content, right? And you as a SVP of Content is almost like I really want to have a drink with you to learn more how you got there.
I accept. That's a group. Thank you. That's
yeah,
really
but
nice.
like how did you get there, and what is your advice for, I don't know, unthinkable career paths?
It is unthinkable. I actually have to give my mom a little bit of credit. She said this the other day. I was going to be high school. I was going to be either an animal vet or a doctor. Loved science. I loved the black and white. I loved it either worked or it didn't. I loved that you could prove something, right? So I went into college pre-med, and then very quickly, sophomore year, I was like, this is way harder. Organic chemistry weeded me out. It did what it was supposed to do, weeded me out. So honestly, I looked around and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So that is okay. That is absolutely okay. My children have no idea what they want to do, and I'm telling you for now, that's just fine. Honestly, I started playing towards strengths. What comes easy to you? And that is not that it's easy for everybody, right? It's easy for you. What are your superpowers? What are you good at?
What's your talent?
What's your talent? I'm good at talking. That was there from day one. But I also I like getting people's energy and learning from them, that intellectual curiosity. If I just did the same thing day in and day out, I don't know, maybe an accountant, something like that, I would be really bored because I feed off of the learning and the energy. So thinking through how you can do something like that in your job, thinking through what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. I had a very short stint as a e-commerce consultant where we would help brands with their RFPs. I love that piece. I was learning about it, but then I had to implement it. I don't know if you've done an e-commerce replatform, but that's something you want to do like maybe once in your career. You definitely don't want to do it dozens of times. And I very quickly found out, and shout out to my boss at the time when I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to keep...
I don't want to ever go through it again.
I don't want to do this again. I've done it as a retailer and I don't want to do it for my job. It was a square peg in a round hole, honestly. And early on, my mom said, I was like probably 3 years old, I don't know, watching Oprah or Ellen saying, I want to do that. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, I just want to talk to people all day. And then, they bring on some giant cardboard check or some donation that changes these people's lives, being able to just be that impactful for people. So I haven't reached that level. Like, I wish I could give you a cardboard check, but just being able to talk to people and learn and figure out what makes them tick, what makes their brand tick, and what makes their customer happy, like that, I never get sick of that.
But that's a field. Sometimes I get messages like, Paula, thank you so much for the episode. It really transformed the way I saw my business. We changed something. Like, I feel so... Whatever money I make, I think this is what pays off. It's when you're work
making a
changed
difference.
Somebody's life. Yeah.
That impact, even if it's one person, how impactful that can actually be for somebody. And the fact that they're taking time to tell you is amazing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people...
Imagine the people that you don't talk to.
Exactly. I was going to say, how many people do we watch videos or things and think, oh, that was so impactful, that was so smart. And you talk about it, but we don't always necessarily tell that person how impactful they were for us.
And they don't have, 40,000 people coming to NRF
to watch
the content you helped create. Congratulations.
I'm sure all 40,000 are watching. I know they are. Honestly, no. I mean, your content is so lovely because you actually get to the people side of it as well. It's not only the business side, and that's what makes retail human. So